And that was Boogie Nights from 1997.
You betcha.
Yeah. You bet your big gobbler there.
You bet your torpedo area, as they say.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and read our comments from Doomzilla and Shay. They were really upset we did not show the giant rubber winker. But no,
Look,
don't.
guys,
Yeah.
it's this has been out forever. You
Yeah,
go
yeah.
rent it.
Yeah, it's probably on YouTube somewhere. YouTube's really lax about that. So,
If
but
you want to start a Twitch channel and have your own Winky party, go ahead. Be
we'll
a
call you
star.
the Winklers.
Henry Winkler.
Henry Winkler. Henry and Harry Winkler. Oh, no, no, no. But no, I
Hey,
will read their comments quickly before we get into our little conversation. Doomsday says, well, it's a film for its time.
a film for all time, I would say.
Yes, yes. And then Shay says, that was an interesting watch, a pretty sad story in a lot of ways, but on a hopeful note. Yeah, so it's weird. You started off talking about this movie, calling it very empathetic towards these, I don't want to call them misguided, but definitely kind of off
Just
souls.
misfits and but misfits within just a found family of misfits. They
Mm-hmm.
really are their own little family by the end of it. By the beginning of it too, Dirk finds his family in them rather than that horrible home life that it looks like. I mean, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but no, I think it's a pretty amazing movie, and for being 2.5 hours long, there's a lot weaved into it with the whole social critiques, great character drama, and a really sort of it's not a takedown of the porn industry or whatever. I think it's an honest, just magnifying glass to it,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be in the funny moments too. If you're ever been involved in filming a project or anything, there are moments in there that really hit home and relate, especially at a low budget level. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's never been any sex going on at our film shoots, I can assure you. But
Then what have I been doing this whole time? What's going on?
you just had your weenie out the whole time. What? Where's the party, man?
I
But
know.
no, for being something that gets into such heavy, deep, areas and stuff, it's a great movie that feels light on its feet, and especially at 2.5 hours, it never feels preachy or anything. It moves along wonderfully. It's always fun to look at. Amazing sequences, and for being sad and having that definite edge to it, it doesn't just leave the characters, again, to sort of, as Shay was mentioning, it doesn't just leave the characters by the end of it to be in the absolute pit of darkness and wallowing in their despair and everything. By the end, there is a glimmer there, um,
Yeah, no,
of life going on.
yeah, I do like how it is a movie where it does go to some dark places and you do see some despair, but I also do like how, like you said, it starts off as a found family, and even knowing that we are dealing with like basically the 1970s and even scarier the 80s porno industry. It is funny how all these characters do kind of rediscover each other towards the end and start their lives anew. And it is also like that last scene where they're still in the business, but it's not as icky or as exploitative as what we saw when Dirk Diggler was not there. Instead, they had Dirk Diggler, whoever that person was, with a really terrible shot on VHS stuff.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's I
Yeah,
guess it was so low budget they can only afford close-ups.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, but
Man,
yeah,
he works in a close up, doesn't he?
yeah,
But
but
no,
no,
it lets him have some sort of fragile sort of semblance of hope within that makeshift family, and
mm-hmm.
that they weren't killed by the porn industry, that they're able to survive by the end of it, and that at least is, except for William H. Macy and his bitch wife. The fact that everyone gets out, I think, is, for all the cynicism that is there, sort of an optimistic note. And I know people think that it ends a bit neat, or
Mm-hmm.
like it ends like that. That's a cop out in some way, but I don't think so. I don't want to see more bad things happen to these good people,
Yeah, I think
or interesting people.
yeah, no, I think it ends on a fair note. I think is the best way to describe it because it's not everybody finds Jesus at the end. Although
Yeah.
it
Oh
is
my,
funny,
yeah.
it is funny that the Colonel, who probably ended up being the most horrible character in the whole movie, he gets his ass
Yeah,
beaten by a man who's clearly reading the Bible.
that's right.
Which is probably a very fitting fate, especially considering how bad things are. But I do like the fact that, again, cultural minutia. They say that this movie you think is just going to be like a sexy good time for the first half, which ironically it is, and then it gets into the scary dark stuff in the second half. And being a movie from the late '90s, I thought it was going to end on a truly tragic point. Well, what I love is that all the characters have their own little, with the exception of the horrible Colonel, all most of the characters have their own little and the ones who died, but most of the characters.
Most of the characters have their own individual arcs and falls and
Yes,
rises and all
yes,
that.
yes. It's like what's most interesting is oh god, Burt Reynolds' character, whose name escapes me,
Jack
unfortunately.
Horner.
Jack Horner sat in a corner. So, uh,
You bet.
yes, yes, and watched as horrible things happen. No, I'm glad that he has like the same scene where poor Dirk Dickler gets beaten up in the parking lot. At the same time, him and Roller Girl are having this really terrible situation, which on in theory seemed like a good idea, but then when you bring in like a complete amateur, quote unquote, normal person into the mix, it just ends horrifically. And to be honest, I'm glad they beat the shit out of him. I was afraid. There was a moment where I thought, oh no, they're all going to get arrested for murder, and it's like, no, screw that guy. It's like,
I'm afraid that's going to happen to me when I meet Joel Hodgson and tell him that all the new seasons suck. And he's going to beat me
you
up on the
can't touch
curb.
me, man. Hits you with a growler puppet. We're not using this one anymore.
Drops a Tom Servo on my face.
Hmm.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, but no, I do like how they all kind of find their like kind of little individual stories. And again, I've always been a fan of Don Cheadle. So unfortunately, it's one of those situations where if you really like the actor, you're just invested in his character regardless what his character is. And I thought that was a really sweet little subplot that he finds love with a fellow porn actress played by Morlora Walters playing Jesse St. Vincent. Sounds like a character I create. And they just end up becoming this cute couple trying to start an honest to goodness business. And in the end, they do succeed. Although, do you feel that whole scene in the donut shop is a little contrived, or do you think it's like an oddball, out of nowhere moment of, oh, it kind of worked out?
Yeah, I think, it puts you through so much tension that if it's kind of like the Hitchcock thing where, you know that a bomb's going to go off, but if the bomb actually blows up and, blows off and kills who your main character, you feel cheated. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's a good thing that he was it's contrived or whatever, but for the tension that it ratchets up, I think if he had died in that donut shop with a pregnant wife in the car, it'd just be the worst thing
I know.
ever.
I know.
And
That's what.
those are one of the moments that I think they're ancillary characters, or that's not fair. They're characters on the periphery, but him and Julianne Moore's mom character, those are some of the most hard hitting character types because they deal with people trying to, if not escape the industry totally,
Mm-hmm.
just actually do something that for themselves, for their own lives. Him trying to start his own store, her trying to have custody of her child back, and yet it is that very real thing, which it less now because sex work is viewed in a slightly different light than it was in the 70s and 80s, very different.
Mm-hmm.
But you see that discrimination there, and the type of reaction that society has to people
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the industry.
Yeah, I can understand it happening. Like, it's weird. It's one of those movies where we are dealing with a bunch of misfits and freaks, and they
Yeah,
never.
and with very troubled, a
Yeah,
very troubled and problematic
yeah,
environment.
yes, and yet they're never glamorized. Yeah,
You know,
there's moments of like you're having fun with these characters and you can see the appeal of everything that's going on, but they're never glamorized. In fact, they are treated empathetically, and it's also one of those movies where a lot of the so-called quote unquote normal people outside the industry, not counting a couple of really nasty eggs who ultimately get themselves thrown into jail, rightfully so,
yeah.
um, are portrayed in very negative, nasty lights. Again, Dirk Diggler's character's mother and father was just, yeah, he needed to get out of that home life, period, regardless.
Mhm.
A lot of the old schoolmates of Roller Girl were just horrific. And then, of course, like I said, the scene in the limo is very harrowing. Like, there's also there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of harrowing things going on, but that scene in the limo really touches hard because as somebody who's kind of dealt with bullying, it's like it kind of touched because you get called a disgusting freak and a piece of shit by somebody who is clearly even worse than you'll ever be. So, and it was gratifying to see his face get kicked in. So, but that's all I'm going to say. Let's not get too dark here. But no, you are right. This is a very empathetic movie to the whole situation going on. With that says, how much of this is based on real life, and how much of it is just like fiction inspired a little bit by real life,
Is this the
real
real life,
life.
or is it just
Is
fantasy?
this fantasy, Brayton? Easy
um,
come, easy go.
no, I mean a lot of it does draw. Again, Anderson did draw from real life people. You know, Dirk Diggler, like the obvious comparison is someone like John Holmes or something, who was a
Mm-hmm.
nasty kind of fellow.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and there's a director who Tarantino at least believes Jack Horner is modeled directly after. But I think it's just, you know, it's a fictional movie, but I think what makes it land like and feel so powerful and everything is that it just these are real three-dimensional people, and how deeply it does feel empathetic towards them. It's very easy to uh it's very easy to see them all existing, I guess. And that's a weird way of putting it, but no, there aren't like these exact situations did not happen. It is a fictional story, but again, he lived in the San Fernando Valley and in the California area, and he grew up knowing some of these people. You know, those Ghoulardi contacts he was in with the underworld.
Thank you, Guardi, for helping us throughout tonight.
Yeah, but like I was like specifically with again, you know, Jack Horner's Burt Reynolds character. He's not an exact one to one with any real uh, director or porno director, I don't think. But he channels that vibe of, you know, you're pioneering, even just a low budget, you know, an auteur or something who wants to make something great, and you know is tired of sort of squabbling, making trash. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you can see elements of him in a lot of people at this level of filmmaking, and especially I imagine in the porn film industry. You know, I've always thought, I don't know, there really hasn't been any mainstream X-rated, like, you know, movies of that nature that have ever made like a huge mainstream splash, except, I don't know, Deep Throat, because it was like one of the big first, you know, scandalous ones that everyone went and saw.
Yeah, but
But
I think
to make something that to make something I'm just mean to make something with an actual story, and you know, it is a noble ambition, I imagine, for directors in that industry who don't want to just shoot shots all day of, you know, shots, and actually want to. Thank you, but yeah, just someone who actually is interested, you know, in doing something with craft and artistry, and not just put sex on screen, done. You know, he's a sympathetic director and creative type, and you know, with his whole pushback against film, or film moving to digital and everything, that's
mm-hmm.
very real. um but no, I don't think the characters are not all exactly based on real life people, again, one to one,
Mm-hmm.
but they're sort of an amalgamation of just the creatures that industry sort of can create in some cases for the worse, and people who just happen to fall into it and are real everyday people.
Yeah, and we do have. Yeah, it's like I do agree with you that things have gone a lot better for a lot of these creators, and they're able, and especially for the actresses who can make it on their own and not worry about having to deal with bizarre husbands or producers or people they're under contract with. Jenna Jameson, famously, she was a porno actress who was really popular in the '90s, who kind of started becoming her own producer, and I think her and other actors and actresses went on and actually made a business that tailored more for their needs and whatnot. So yeah,
Yeah, the stigma has definitely, you know,
lessened. Yeah,
lessened.
yeah. With that says though, yeah, it isn't perfect. It's like you bring up a good point though, and I'm not going to go too much into detail, but it's like I'm even though I still draw like big bucks and monster girls and all that, I am honestly thinking of like really abandoning some of the more unpublished or incompleted works that for a brief time I almost had published when independent comic books or smaller run comic books were a lot easier to publish in physical form with actual companies before Diamond Distributions decided to basically say no to almost everything that wasn't the big comic book studios. And in retrospect, I think it's probably best that happened. It's like that I never ended up, actually publishing official hentai for the American markets because there is
There's that thing where you're not hurting real actresses in that situation, Raph. They're all hand drawn, but
the
you are
stigma.
you have the stigma, and you have, and I don't mean to sound again like I'm on a pedestal or anything, but you're such a talented and creative guy that maybe those pursuits are aimed better at other,
Other things, yeah. And
pursuits. Yeah,
yeah, and more
that
family,
energy.
yeah, family related things. It's like, yeah, granted, it'd be fun to do like some kind of like more adult comedy, but nothing too extreme. And to be fair, there's a lot of adult comedy, regardless if it's TVMA or otherwise, that kind of sucks. So yeah,
Yes.
I just and not in the way you're thinking, ladies and gentlemen. That yeah, I think my talents would be better off doing other things. Like Brayton's been helping me getting a book ready together, mostly an art book, but his editing skills are amazing. And we're kind of
Yeah.
looking over some of the
Thanks.
stuff. And I feel that yeah, the more it's still kind of like satirical and, satirical, maybe even a little too political, but it's not doesn't have that unfortunate stigma that this kind of artwork has or just that kind of subgenre has. And I do like how the movie does touch upon it, that even knowing there are some people who still remain in the business and are still kind of ruined because of it, like the scene with Don Cheadle and his wife. Oh, what's her name? Oh, Milora Walters. We'll just call him M Walters, where they
Yeah,
get
the
rejected.
greatest painter alive, where they
Yes.
get rejected for their loan at the bank.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's the whole thing about everybody. You're not taken seriously as a human being and almost considered,
Mm-hmm.
damaged goods or whatever. And you have a disease, go away.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
it's a really devastating scene. And I think what's great about the movie, again, that sort of defies what people just think about it who haven't seen it or whatever, is that it's all handled without being condescending or overt, like gruesome, again, Gaspar Noé type of look at all the drugs they're shooting into their veins, and they're throwing up, and it doesn't go so dark as to be exploitive, but it is honest and does show the drugs and everything involved with
Mm-hmm.
it. And I don't think I don't think the characters are treated necessarily as, they're not a punchline to a gag, though they are funny and goofy and ridiculous, but that's just more, situation character based.
Yeah.
And but they're also not like lectury cautionary tales either. They are portrayed as just messy human beings who have messy lives, and
Mm-hmm.
are desperate characters in some situations and ridiculous and sincere characters in others. And Amber, Julianne Moore, she's a broken type of character, a broken,
Yeah.
but she's still loving and is trying to be that for, again, this ragtag sort of,
Yeah.
uh, makeshift family. And yeah, I feel like all the characters, they feel very real and tragic and specific, and not just porno archetypes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's funny too because it's like that's a problem. God. One of the big believe it or not, I never really got into animated hentai for various reasons.
Well, it's just going to be that kind of night.
Yeah, no,
let's
no, just,
let's air out all the dirty, stiff laundry.
yeah, no, don't worry. No, no, I'll just make this quick. A lot of them have horrible stories, and you can obviously tell they're just there just to kind of, they're just there to get a certain fetish off, so to speak. And yeah, and Japan has like really violent and terrible ways of looking at it too. In fact, it's almost like the animated equivalent of what we saw when they were trying to make videotapes, and the fake spy series they were doing just got worse and worse in the quality and even some of the content. So yeah, you're right. When there are actually good stories or actual good acting talent in these very questionable films, in and out of hentai, just adult films in general, it isn't taken seriously because of that stigma. And of course, because of the subject matter itself, it's impossible to share it, even to people who try to take this stuff seriously. But no, with that says though, I do love that it's a very empathetic movie to all these different characters, even though these characters are terribly flawed. And with
Mhm.
that says, Julianne Moore, yeah, she's. Would you say she's sort of the standout character in the whole movie? Because you really do feel sorry, not sorry for her, but you do empathize with her immensely. And
Yeah.
even at the end, even knowing she's still loved, and she's kind of like the mama bear to Burt Reynolds' Papa Bear in this movie, in this weird little
Mhm.
group. You still feel there's a certain level of sadness there, even knowing that she is, like Jack Horner lovingly and comically saying, "You are a sexy, foxy
The
bee."
foxiest bitch. Yeah, yes. Yeah, no, it's I think that's what makes she's phenomenal. I think pretty much all the characters
Mm-hmm.
are very well rounded and feel, in some situations large exaggerations, but they all have that inner pain to them, and they all have hopes and, a wanting to make something of themselves and belong in some way. And the film takes it's a marginalized group of people, but it gives them a depth and a voice, without pretending that they're total. None of them are total saints, and it doesn't ignore the darkness or anything. But they all have a soul, and the movie doesn't strip away any of the actual humanity and caring that goes in. And I've said at the top of the show, I think the porn industry, to me, it's kind of hard to look at that in an overtly funny way. Like I view it like very sad because I know that these are real people, and it's great that some of them are enjoy the work and honestly get a kick out of it, or get
Mm-hmm.
really stressed or whatever goes into it. But yeah, the fact that these are real people who are kind of bearing their soul and chest and everything else out on camera, and I know that they have real problems and everything. It's kind of a hard industry for me to discuss in a lot of cases, but
Yeah.
I think this film does it better than almost anything else I've seen, and better than a lot of documentaries, which
Yeah.
definitely sensationalize it.
Oh God, yeah. It's like, no. I know a lot of people love a lot of Netflix documentaries, but those are what's that horrible word? Centralized? No, sensationalized.
Sensationalized, yes, yeah.
Sensationalized. Yeah. Though even ones that are supposed to be taken seriously. Granted, the Netflix. I don't know if it was a Netflix documentary, but the one about the guy who builds his own giant tank and attacks a whole town.
God, that's what the
Tracks.
Tread, which
Tread.
was based off the yeah, the Haymeyer or whatever his name was.
Yeah, that was actually a
Anyway.
pretty decent documentary. I think that was probably one of the best ones they did, and not because of the subject matter, but guy built his
You
own
just
giant
wanted to see
robot.
Killdozer.
Yeah.
That's all you wanted.
Oh God, but we'll talk. Maybe I'll save Tread for this wonderful podcast that we're working on the sides as one of my movie picks, because I would like to kind of revisit and see what goes on. But yeah, a
Oh my
lot of
god.
documentaries based on this business do kind of suck, and they over glamorize or criticizes this whole thing. But and also, just as a disclaimer, again, I only dealt with like kind of the fictional artistic side of it for a brief time. Nothing ever came of it, so I really have no experience to really speak of, so to speak.
No.
As you mentioned, they're just characters on paper. They're fictional characters. But no, I do think that, and it's funny too, because earlier you mentioned this conversation. There are movies that are based on this industry or inspired by this industry that have never really made a public, any kind of really ripples in the public consciousness. And I think, and Deep Throat, to be honest, something I wanted to say earlier, that felt more like a 1970s fad. Everyone's seen this otherwise really terrible movie that
I think Jimmy Carter saw it.
J-
Uh,
bless Jimmy
yeah.
Carter's.
There's like a page on Letterboxd, which is like I guess and this makes it even weirder,
Before he
but
died,
it's
Jimmy Carter became an online film critic. Oh
that's
boy.
what killed him. Yeah, but no, there's like a list on there you can see of all the movies presidents like watched while in office in their
Mm-hmm.
term. And I want to say that Jimmy Carter watched Deep Throat in the White House, which makes it amazing.
You boys told me
Uh,
that this was going to be a comedy.
yeah, but I
Oh my
could be
god.
wrong. But I remember seeing that. Anyhow, no, that was something like, and I associate Deep Throat more with the 3 Days of the Condor, because that, or not 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men with
Mm-hmm.
Hal Holbrook, and his sort of informant character's name is Deep Throat.
Yeah.
But anyway, and also there's oral sex Deep Throat, which I guess is more common association with the term.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think in terms of movies that are about the industry and not just a triple X movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the most famous one, but I think that sort of oversimplifies it still, because it is a very, it has a very poignant core and center to it, while at the same time not being a total drab, depressing thing. It's a very flighty, colorful movie that just crackles, and it's constantly moving, and it's very entertaining throughout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's funny. Earlier, Shay mentioned, yeah, because of how famous this movie is and the subject matter. Shay earlier in the comments, he made this funny joke saying, this isn't a porno movie, this is the porno movie. And yeah, I
Yes.
think it was also very successful when it came out, didn't it? Didn't it?
Yep. Yes. It was not. It didn't win anything at the Oscars, but it was nominated. And again, this is Paul Thomas Anderson's second film, uh, which was, I don't know, it kind of feels like a spiritual in the same world. But the man we saw, Philip Baker Hall, who played the guy who was like, "Hey, listen, I love butter up my ass as much as the next guy." He's one of my favorite, and he's a great character actor. You've seen in a million movies. He's in The Truman Show as one of like the network guys
Mm.
in like, not obviously, oh, what's his name, not the bald guy, what's his name, Raph,
Oh, I
that
know.
actor,
Oh God, Harrison.
the Truman, I built this for you, that actor who,
Yes.
um he's not him, but he's in like his circle of suits who are there.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also like the best Nixon, and he was the star of Hard Eight alongside John C. Reilly, and Sam Jackson is in that movie. And that was a very stripped down, sort of simple, character driven crime slash Vegas gambling tale.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the one that was incredibly audacious. He used all the money that he made from that to fund, to dump into this movie. And yeah, a guy my age making such a energetic and audacious, and a film with a great pace to it, while also having such a maturity, I think is really impressive. And yeah, a great, I don't know how the hell that they afforded all the music drops that they have in this movie, but
Yeah.
I hope
At
to God
15.
that they made the money back.
Yeah, at 15 million, this movie looks way too good to be $15 million. Like, even at 1997, that's impressive that this was the budget.
Yeah.
So, oh my God! But no,
Yeah, and there's,
Brayton disappeared.
a great sort of these. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you might want to start again. You
Hello?
you disappeared there. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, a bit of a lag type of thing. But I was gonna say, one of the directorial things that Paul Thomas Anderson loves to do is the sort of handheld tracking shot type of thing. And in this movie, there's a lot of that going through the nightclub with so many freaking moving pieces, and then a lot during Jack Horner's in his house. So yeah, just it's visually very fun and very kinetic, with so many different things going on, and so many sounds, and so much dialogue. It's a very busy movie, but that again, it doesn't distract from the sort of the heart of it all. So yeah, it produced for around $15 million. I think, I want to say that it made something like 40 million back domestically, which back then was okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
who?
it definitely was like a big, him being a major new voice in American movies, this sort of catapulted him again.
Yeah, and also I figured this is a movie that, from what I'm reading here on Wikipedia, the box office was a little over 43 million. But I'm guessing
Okay,
this
there you go.
movie did even better on home video.
Of course, yes, on home video and the burgeoning DVD craze at the time, and rentals, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like this is a huge, huge movie from the era, kind of in the same way, like this. I think this came out, funny enough, the same year as Jackie Brown, but I keep making allusions to it, Pulp Fiction, of being that young director's big second, here everything I have to say is type of movie. And it's this movie is very much inspired by Robert Altman's films, which has like Nashville and everything, and The
Mm-hmm.
Player, which are famous for having big ensemble dramas and period pieces a lot of times, with a lot of like social critiques and things. So this was kind of his version of that. And then even more explicitly later on with the movie Magnolia, which we probably won't be watching on the show because it is very long.
Yeah.
Um,
In fact, I was gonna say, one of the rules I wanted for this show was not to do movies that were over an hour and a half. But even knowing that this was a success, Brayton, and you got away with it, young man, Yeah, this is the first movie we've done that's been a proper 2 hours and a half, maybe even more than that, actually.
Well, we've kind of consistently done 2-hour movies though,
Yeah.
a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of the
And
time.
movies that were a little over 2 hours, but yeah, it. You
But it
know.
never feels slow because the writing is so good, and
Mm-hmm.
the directing is so vibrant and exhilarating. It never feels boring. It never drags at all.
Oh yeah. Even with like oddball touches they throw throughout this movie, like like I said, it does feel a little bit like the Coen Brothers movies the Coen Brothers never made, and I love the Coen Brothers, but thank God they didn't make this movie because we all know what would have happened at the end.
Yeah.
So those guys are definitely more they're nihilists, Brayton. They don't believe in anything. That's why there were three of them. So there's only two
Yeah.
Coen Brothers, right?
Oh
there's
my
there's
God.
three Remies. There's only two Coens.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Or they.
But if you want to talk briefly though about Rahad Jackson, the star of the show, played by Alfred Molina, who they cast, he says, the day before, because the actor that was going to play that character dropped out. His agent made like a sudden emergency call to him. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a very small role, so he was able to, learn the dialogue that he needed. But he knocked that whole sequence at his den is one of the most tense scenes ever, with the firecrackers going
I
off and him
know.
coked and cracked out of his
Yeah,
mind.
that's what I was gonna mention. That's what I was making in comparison to Coen Brothers because there are like weird
Mhm.
little elements and
Mini
add-ons
movies
throughout the
and
movie, and that
yeah.
scene feels like something out of a Coen Brothers movie where you just have a random Chinese. I hope he's age appropriate person throwing firecrackers all over the place, and with that says though, Alfred Molina has been in the business for a while. He's been a character actor you see every once in a while. Was his role in this, which is very memorable. It's like the shot of cocaine we needed in the third act. Uh, with that said, though, was this movie got him on everyone's radar, and that's when we suddenly saw Alfred Molina everywhere to the point that he's now kind of considered character actor royalty.
I don't know. This is it's a very unforgettable role. Everybody who mentions this movie usually talks about that scene as being like the standout.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many movies he was in before this, or what what was the impetus for the big splash, or the films that would follow. This is like what? How many years is this pre Spider-Man 2?
Oh,
Because he's got abs here. I mean, he's a fit as a fiddle.
I know. I think probably like the Spider-Man movies were like somewhere like around 2005, 2008 or something. So
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is about maybe a
just a
few
few
years short of
years.
10 years, 8
Yeah.
years from then. But yeah, I don't know. It's an incredible performance though, and everybody who's seen the movie talks about it. And he's I think he's only in the movie for, I think that scene is like 10 minutes and that's it, and he's probably in it, I don't know, 8 of that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But he totally hijacks that part of the movie, and up until that point in the film, things have sort of been spiraling out of control, but sort of in that steady tragic way. And then when you get to his house, everything literally just explodes into absurdity, and him running out with the shotgun. That we can never give Brits guns again, because otherwise we're done.
I know. Especially ones with cyborg arms. Why didn't Doc Ock just grab a bunch of shotguns? He could have taken out Spider-Man like no problem.
I know, these are the things they don't think of.
Yeah, I know. It's like supervillains. I know you're like bulletproof and you got laser beams and all that, but carry a couple of shotguns. Nobody will see you coming.
Yeah.
Take that, Superman. Ouch, my nose. Exactly. I make my escape. Bye.
Yeah, but that scene's a whole total nightmare and everything, and the looks on Thomas Jane and Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly's face are like that sort of when they hold the shot of Mark Wahlberg for like 30 seconds or whatever, of him
Mm-hmm.
just realizing that what's about to happen, and all of his life decisions that led him to this exact night. Uh, yeah, it's great direction, and just again suspense building, and Jesse's girl, all underscores it all, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's like the worst
And
song.
Sister Christian, which is like the ultimate like stripper song of all time.
Yeah, yeah. Jesse Girls is not a bad song, but it's not the song you want to be listening to when you realize your life is shit.
Exactly.
And not only, and fun fact, Thomas Jane's character, which is great by the way, it's like you know he was sort of a red flag throughout the whole time, but then when it's like, we can take him out and take all his money. Yeah, it's the plan. You got to
We're
do the
doing what
plan
we
with me.
came here to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, his character's full name is Todd Parker.
Ugh. There you go.
So yeah, if you want to think like multiverse stupidity, this is a version where Peter Parker, Todd Parker, never got bitten by the
Is the
spider.
Punisher is Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly, and the non-cyborg version of Alfred Molina took him
They
out.
should
So
have had the Russian there. They should
yeah.
have had brought Kevin Nash in to play the Russian again. But no, yeah, that whole sequence is the awkwardness of it and the music playing a bit too loud and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and all of it just going wrong is really really fun. And now what's he gonna do? He's got to find himself another gigantic black man. Go to another multiverse and get the Kingpin played by Michael Clark Duncan, and then you're safe.
I don't do work for you. I don't care what anyone says. Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin was awesome. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's the best thing about that.
I know exactly. And the story behind that, I'll just make this very quick, was that they wanted a gigantic actor to play the Kingpin, but they had like tons of wrestlers who auditioned, and none of them could act. So it's like now today you can make a big cynical argument for and against recasting characters into different nationalities and whatnot, but the fact that
Hmm.
they just hired Michael Clark Duncan because he was talented and he could act and he was gigantic and beautiful, I think that's
Yep.
just an amazing story in its own right. So
Yep.
somebody one thing I like thing about this movie one thing I like about this movie, and sorry to switch subjects, it really kind of plays around with your expectations, because you think some things are going to go one way and then you think other things, then they go into completely different directions. Like Philip Seymour Hoffman as Scotty J. You think that story is going to end very tragically, a sort of bury your gay type tragedy at the end, but he turns out
Well, that's a very sad and very real sequence, though, where he,
yeah,
kisses them at the party and then cries in the car. That's,
yeah, but
that is sad.
it is very sad, and yeah, I understand. But they still end up being friends at the end. Him
Yeah.
and Eddie, also known as Dirk Diggler, and I do love that he's still there, a part of this makeshift family, even like filming the birth too. So it's like I was expecting it to end on a much darker note with that poor person. Granted, Little Bill, played by William H Macy, kind of ended up being our sacrificial lamb at the end. But also, you like that beautiful little character moment where you're following Jack Horner through his home at the end, and there's like
I
a
know.
poorly drawn but lovingly placed painting
And
of
he
Little
and he
Bill.
goes, "Yeah," as he passes.
So yeah, no, this movie
Yeah.
has like a lot of wonderful heart throughout all the muck and
Yeah,
scariness.
it's not really a sleaze fest at
Mm-hmm.
all, as some people may think of just again, Bible clutching older women or something who hear about the movie, or pearl clutching, moviegoers who think it's just a sensational sleaze porn fest, whatever. Uh, there's a lot, you expect a lot more shock value and everything, and you get that, but that's not what makes it stand out and special. It's how it flips, those elements and makes it a lot more unexpectedly touching by the end of it, because you really do feel your own little kinship and empathy watching these characters, as this family through the years. Um, yeah, I think it's smart again that it just doesn't. It stays away from moralizing about the adult film industry and just you know, tonally keeping you on your toes, but also having this infectious energy and a humanity for the characters.
Yes, and it doesn't glamorize it either. I think it finds just a really good mix between everything to make this movie work. And holy,
Hmm.
yeah, and like you said, this movie
And for juggling so many characters, too, that who again, as two-dimensional characters would be archetypes, but being able to juggle them so well and having such a sprawling story
hmm
and never losing sight of anything or making you confused.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it feels like all the characters, they matter in a really small but resonant way.
indeed, yeah, it's yeah. I really
Yeah,
got nothing to
it's
add.
good.
I really got nothing much to add to it. So,
Hmm.
it's like, granted, we've been watching a lot of these older movies, and I love the fact that they give like like there are no small parts. Only it's like they give all these different actors even small.
Only small penises.
Yes. Actually, I don't think we saw a single small penis in this whole movie.
That's true.
So, oh, that reminds me. Two things I wanted to bring up before we kind of wrap it up. Okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is more of a sort of a funny little factoid, but I was reading the credits while we were gone, and I thought it was hilarious that K&B Special Effects, the friends and brothers who are responsible for the special effects on the Evil Dead movies and the Walking Dead, and even the Chronicles of Narnia, I know what a workshop helped there too, but they helped design some of the monsters in there too because there were so many creatures, minotaurs particularly. But K&B and Fex were responsible for the giant.
You had to bring in professionals.
Yes,
And
professionals.
for anybody out for those who feel cheated, a simple Google search will fulfill your deepest desires. But
There's also a
yeah, I don't know.
deleted scene where the penis tries to kill Bruce Campbell, so Bruce Campbell has to fight with a chainsaw.
I will say when I first saw this, I didn't expect it to be that big.
Yeah. I, I hate to say I was expecting the length. I just thought it would be a little healthier in the width.
You know, hey, you haven't seen it fully at attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, you really have to kind of give it the full view.
My God. Uh, anyway,
We shall
all of this.
salute it on the flagpole.
That's right. You could hang like a barbell from that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a I I think it gives you all of the fun and the glitz of something you'd expect out of a movie like this and the comedy to it, but for it being surprisingly tender and everything, there's a lot of emotional complexity going on that makes it a movie that people do go back to and consider a great movie because you can't have a great movie without great characters and a great story. These are like fundamental foundational things in all films.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have something that you can relate to and feel something for. Otherwise, it's kind of a disposable, in one ear and out the other type of thing. And in the most fun movies, you do have that even. So, um, yeah, for something as you were saying, plays with your expectations, keeps you on your toes. Um, you know, uh, it becomes a lot more than something you expected at the outset or
Yes.
onset.
Yes, exactly. So, and yeah, it definitely leaves like a nice warm feeling at the end, and not in that
Yeah.
way.
No, in a good human way.
Yes, exactly. So
Humanity, people. That's
yeah,
all we got.
yeah. So and while I kind of agree with you that Mark Wahlberg is really nobody to really kind of be too admired by,
What?
it is that.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, buddy. You're gonna have to eat a hot dog with a killer plant over there. Come on.
Oh
Uh,
man.
this can't
He's funny.
happen.
He's funny in Ted.
Yes, I've yet to see the Ted movies. So
Well, I don't know if we'll be showing those, but I recommend the first one.
okay. With that says though, no, you're right. He is very good in this movie, and also Burt Reynolds was fantastic too. So
Yeah.
I can understand Mark Wahlberg being a little embarrassed because he probably has a strong religious background. But yeah, Burt
Well,
Reynolds.
whatever, because I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think it's being a wet blanket.
Yeah,
Because it's again, if you're a, I don't want to get into, I don't want to go into fucking religion. I have my own very cynical views on that. But if you're going to be a,
agnostic. I'm agnostic, and I'm proud of
but
it.
if you're
So
going to be a Jesus loving person, act as Jesus did, and look at the people, look at his gang of
yeah,
misfits that he hung around with,
his best buddy
and you
was
should
Mary.
not cast your stones.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of his best buddies was Mary Magdalene. Damn it.
Didn't he play Inigo Montoya? Oh no, that was Manny Man or whatever his name
Okay,
was.
yeah, no,
Manny Potemkin or whatever his
no,
name
I was
is.
just thinking of like Jesus and Mary Magdalene doing that really awesome buddy cop movie together. So
Oh, that sounds great.
yes, it's called. Ah, damn it, I can't think of a cop movie. So
Oh man, it's like a lethal weapon for Jesus
yeah,
lovers.
indeed. So yeah, say take that Roman Empire. Ugh.
Yeah.
They have guns 400 years before they were invented. Ooh.
Yeah. But no, Burt Reynolds again. He's for another. We could talk about him more another day for on another movie. But I think
Mm-hmm.
this is his best work, and his Jack is a very, with his own problems and everything still, but a very endearing type of figure, and he feels like a real guy. You know, it's a real honest performance from him there, and there's a warmth to him and a father figure type role that is very believable for Dirk Diggler to, for having an ineffectual dad at home and a miserable home life on top of that, for finding that in him and finding a friendship and a love for him, and for the fallout that they have not to be, for it to be reconciled, I think was good. That, when he shows up to the house, he doesn't just throw him out again, and he takes him in his arms. It's a very sweet moment.
Yeah, yeah. Which I didn't expect it to end that way too. I thought it was gonna like end like with them killing each other or something, but no, it's just like, can you just help me? Yes, my
Hmm.
boy, come here. I'm glad you're okay. So,
Yeah.
holy shit, really tugs at your heartstrings more so than winking your wiener.
Oh my, tugs and wanks at your, yeah. Okay.
Oh my god! I can't wait a minute. Okay, okay. I was looking at Alfred Molina's filmography, and yeah, he did a lot of British television before he really came to America. He still does a
Hmm.
lot of British television, but no, I thought he did voice acting for anime, and it's like, dude, don't. So, all right.
Yeah, Alfred Molina, he is loved. He's an older guy now. He's in Raiders of the Lost Ark, which we haven't done on the show, which we're probably not going to. But
Mm-hmm.
he is the guy at the beginning, the throw me the whip guy.
Yeah, exactly. See you later, Mr. Jones. Oh no, I've been turned into a dummy by Karen BFX.
Yeah, that may be like his first. That may be his first big movie
Yeah,
role, I think.
yeah, but no, he's been on television since the late '70s. So yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my
Good
goodness.
guy.
Yes. No,
We love him.
we like him. Yeah, we got to find a movie where he stars in it. So, is there a romantic comedy starring him?
Maybe somewhere. Search
Okay.
high and low.
All right, we'll find him. Yeah, we'll find you, Alfred. All
We
right.
watched the Dudley Do Right movie.
Yeah. So this movie, actually,
He's Snidely Whiplash in that, and he's actually not that bad.
no, that's what I heard. Like that movie's not perfect, but the performances from the lead characters are amazing. Like he's amazing in it. Like at least Alfred
Yeah.
Molina is widely. It's like I only saw that clip where him and Widely like. Okay, let's not get into like the drawl genius of the Dudley Do Right
No,
movie.
the movie is terrible, but
Yes.
him as Snidely Whiplash is like, like a Jack Lemmon as Dr. Fate type of genius arch villain mustache twirling amazingness.
Yeah, you and I got to write a movie for him and just have him star in it. So,
Yep.
a romantic comedy where he fights ninjas and
He is him and oh god, I wish I could remember it, but him and John Lithgow play an old gay couple in a movie that is really funny. I wish I could remember.
we we got to do that on one of the shows.
Yeah, hold on, let me look it up because I'm gonna
Okay,
forget
that
otherwise.
sounds amazing. So,
Love is Strange. That's it. It's a little. It's because you don't really see a lot of those of uh, same sex couple comedy slash dramas of like people who have been together for decades and decades and decades, and they're both playing their age, and it's very sweet and very tender.
mm-hmm, indeed.
We'll watch that at some point
Yes, awesome. So, all
for
right,
both of
awesome.
them, John Lithgow and Alfred Molina. Holy crap!
Yeah, I gotta talk about a pairing.
Hmm.
Okay, but enough of this lovey-dovey crap. Because even though this movie was very uplifting, Brayton, and I definitely need it because the current state of the world terrifies me, including
Oh
the
no!
mainstream media. Thank you very
Oh
much for
no!
next week's damn movie.
Yeah, we're gonna get mad and we're gonna go to our windows and we're gonna
Yes,
shout. Uh, what are we gonna shout at our windows,
the
Raph?
parallax view sucks. I like that movie, but still, that was a harrowing movie.
All right. Well, we'll keep it low key and we'll keep it loosey goosey next week then with an absolute classic for our big 70th episode. One of the most famous movies of the 70s,
Hmm.
directed by Sidney Lumet, starring William Holden, Faye Dunaway, Robert Duvall,
Oh wait, William
and
Holden's in it. Okay, I'm happier now. I like William
yes,
Holden. Wait a minute, no. Which William Holden am I thinking of?
William Holden, Sunset Boulevard. William Holden, he's awesome.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I was thinking about the little guy from Creep Show.
Uh, who is that?
Hold on, let me. Okay, hold on. This is gonna be a. Let me look it up. Hold on.
Okay.
Probably.
Anyway, and an Oscar-winning, posthumous Oscar for Peter Finch as a certain news anchor who goes a little cuckoo.
I'm sorry, I was mistaking William Holden with Hal Holbrook.
Oh no, that's Deep Throat.
Okay. He wasn't in Deep Throat.
No, he played Deep Throat, Raph. He played Deep Throat, as I mentioned that earlier. He played Deep Throat in All the President's Men. He played a government-like inside guy, shadowy guy named Deep Throat, codenamed Deep
A
Throat.
lot of weird coincidinkies tonight.
Yeah, there was a big coinky dinky I saw.
I know, can be effects.
Thank you.
Oh, good, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
well, yeah. So, but yeah, I guess, yeah. This is next week's movie. Definitely a pick me up in the age of Donald dumb shit. So,
Hey, that there we have another DD Duck.
yeah. Hey.
Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, and Donald Dumb Shit.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for joining us. I don't know if the stream's going to remain online. I know I've recorded a backup, but yeah, and I don't know how much you're going to hear of us because of all the muted music. But whatever happens, I'm happy I saw this. Thank you, Brayton, and thank you for joining us. And we'll see you on the next movie Graveyard Shift, along with the next 1% Weird, which we haven't finalized yet. But yeah, that's basically it.
Keep on rocking.
Rocking in the free world.
Why didn't they play that song?
It's okay. We got plenty of disco. That's all that matters. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you later. Bye.
Boogie.
And now, the distinguished television news commentator, Mr. Howard Beale.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would...
Prepare yourself for a perfectly outrageous motion picture.
Howard Beale went up there last night and said what every American feels, that he's tired of all the bull...
Sakes, Diana, we're talking about putting a manifestly irresponsible man on national television.
I
got a feeling I'm being made.
You are.
Got to warn you, I don't do anything on my first date.
We'll see. I want a show developed based on the activities of a terrorist group. Bunker.
We're the #1 show in television!
We're number one! There is no America. There is no democracy. There is only IBM and DuPont.
Why me?
Because you're on television, dummy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Network News Hour with Howard Beale.
Stations does this go out live?
Get mad.
67.
I want you to get up right now. Go to your windows, stick your head out and yell.
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Herb?
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Ted?
I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore!
Network by Patty Chayefsky, directed by Sidney Lumet, produced by Howard Gottfried. Television will never be the same.